before I get into it, I just want to talk about the current market environment, because a lot of people are asking me, is it too frothy? I'm really worried. Everybody's making so much money. I had a stock up 200% last month. Yeah, it's getting a little hot, and a lot of people are feeling really smart right now. So when everybody's feeling smart, probably we're going to have a downdraft in the next month or so. It's just how it tends to happen. We can't all feel smart at the same time for too long, just not how the market works. So I think we could have a pullback in the juniors, the gold, silver, copper juniors, in late October. Maybe it'll last a couple weeks, it might last a month, and it'll be a bull market downdraft. So that means it'll be violent, probably be really scary. Some of you might get shaken out, think it's over, the top is in, and then probably in the final weeks of the year, we'll go back up again and make new highs and higher highs in January and February of 2026. So just thought I'd make a market timing call so I could look stupid in the future prior to my presentation. Forward-looking statements, obviously, but actually this doesn't have a lot of forward-looking statements because we're looking back. So I was listening to a podcast, the Money of Mine podcast, a couple months ago, and this fund manager, this guy Darren, who used to be with a fund called K2, was talking. This guy's brilliant. He's just basically going on for 90 minutes nonstop. The guys who would do the interview could barely get a question in. He just kept going, and everything he said was so intelligent and so spot on. And one of the things he said was he talked about he likes things that are underappreciated, things that are a bit of a haunted house. Junior mining sector has a lot of haunted houses, especially in bear markets. 2022 and 2023, we had a lot of haunted houses in the sector. Now some of those haunted houses are looking mighty fine and being valued very highly, right? Can you give me the audio of this just for 30 seconds, please?
People view it as a bit of maybe a haunted house. Like there's something wrong with the company. And people have been burned once there and they don't want to go back, but something's changed. And that's the perfect scenario. And you're like, well, I know why people don't want to look at this. I didn't even want to look at this. But now that I've looked at it, oh my God. And this isn't the same thing as before. And I know why people are writing it off. It makes complete sense, but like something's changed here.
So he gave a few, examples during his podcast, the 90-minute episode he did on Money of Mine. And one of them was a porphyry gold explorer in BC here that was bought out by Newmont in 2021 for $400 million. And basically with this company, the shareholders or, the investing public thought, based upon the results they had in 2017, 2018, the gold deposit they had at this project in the Golden Triangle was just too small. It wasn't going to work. And then they drilled a new target, the Saddle North target. And they had a porphyry intercept of 800 meters of like 1 gram per ton gold, equivalent with copper and everything. And that was a game changer. But the stock didn't really go up that much on that news. So it was a big discovery hole. But 2018 was a bear market year, in the sector. And people just weren't paying attention because a lot of the shareholders, I guess, felt they were burned by the previous, results this company has. So that was the example that he used in this podcast, and it was a fantastic one because I knew it and I had traded that stock. So let's talk about some new ideas and some examples from the last couple of years. So catalysts for corporate transformation in the junior mining sector. So how do we generate value in this sector? We drill and we find more metal in the ground. We find an ore body. That's the number one way that we generate value in the sector. If you don't drill, it's pretty hard to generate value, but it's still possible. The other way we can generate value is maybe we've already drilled. The ore body is there. We've already got a PFS or a feasibility study, but there was something else blocking the project. Maybe it wasn't able to get permit previously with a government, or there was just some other regulatory event that was blocking it, maybe social license, something like that. And so we can generate value by, removing the blockage, getting the permit, or getting the First Nation to say, we're on your side, with this, right? Also, sometimes a management team can be blocking the value of a company. Just the market soured on the CEO or the board, and they feel that these aren't the right people for the job, and so they don't buy the stock. So sometimes you bring in fresh blood, you do a share consolidation, and voila, you can unlock value, right? Also, the gold price can go up, copper price can go up, but we can't really time that so well. And really, as stock pickers in the sector, the things we want to focus on the most are the drill results, new project model. Maybe they got a new VP of exploration who got new eyes on the project, and they were able to see something that the previous operators of this project weren't able to see. And so examples, I came up with 10. There's way more than 10, but these are the 10 that are more personal to me and that I followed and came to my mind as I was writing this presentation. So, these are examples of when the story changed and it's not the same as it was before. Talon Metals and Hercules Metals, these two have something in common, a new discovery, right? So you could say that the share structures in both of these companies weren't ideal at the time they made the new discovery hole, but the drill results were powerful enough, and the upside potential that the market saw was large enough that the stocks moved, right? With Hercules, it was like an 8x from bottom to top. With Talon Metals, I think it's like a 5x now from bottom to where it is right now. Also, you can do M&A. You can acquire an operating gold mine during a bull market for a really cheap price. And that works pretty well too. We've seen that work fantastically the last couple of years. Also, you can have management changes. So, with Awale, the former management, the former CEO, the market didn't like them for whatever reason. So we bring in a new CEO, we bring in some new board members, we do a financing with the ore group, and suddenly the market starts to pay a little bit more attention. But you still need to make a discovery, you still need to drill and find the gold in the ground, and so they did. 5 more. When a government like Sweden suddenly becomes favorable towards mining, voila, that's nirvana, right? And we're seeing that a lot in 2025, where all of these governments, whether it's Canada or the US or Sweden, and there's many more, suddenly become advocates of the mining industry, and they're aligned with the mining industry. I can't express how important that is. It's such a value driver because this industry has fought against governments for the last 50 years around the West, right? Now, they're becoming allies. It's incredible. You cannot overstate how important that is, right? With Avanti Gold, this was insane. In May, this stock was 3 cents. It's in Africa. They have 3 million ounces of gold in resource, but nobody cared in May. Gold price wasn't that low in May, but nobody cared. And why didn't they care? Because this company couldn't finance. For whatever reason, the right people weren't paying attention. That changed in June. They were able to get some money in the door, get some new financial backers. Stock went from 3 cents to 70 cents. That's 20 plus X in a few months. Absolutely incredible. And that shows you the power. We need money, right? These companies need money. If they can't finance, they don't have much value. If they can finance and they're well capitalized, it unlocks a lot of value. And that's the best example that I know of this year, because I was looking at that stock in 3 cents and I didn't buy it, and now it's 60 cents, right? With Highlander Silver, so there was some social, license, big question marks on this asset. But when you bring in the Lundin family and Wark and Sprott, basically the 3 biggest names in this sector, all billionaires, the market pays attention. And suddenly they think, well, maybe those social problems aren't so big anymore, right? And we'll take a look at that. And then TDG Gold, big discovery right next door. And it's literally right next door. So as soon as those results are announced, suddenly this company's property is worth a heck of a lot more, and they've had an incredible run. Blind spots. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this, but basically, there's a lot of investors who have a lot of blind spots, especially in the junior mining sector, and that's where there's opportunity. If every opportunity was seized upon by all investors, they wouldn't really be great opportunities and they wouldn't last. But it's the investor blind spots that give us the ability to capture value and make big returns. So Talon Metals is my number one, and really, if this is the only thing you take away from this presentation, that's fantastic. I've done my job. How many of you have owned a stock that had a chart like that before? So from 2022 to the beginning of this year, Talon shares fell 90%. Brutal, 90%. Grinding, downtrend, sell off. And Talon came into 2025 as a haunted house. Exactly what Darren was talking about in that podcast. This was a haunted house. Investors were burned. They didn't want to come back. They didn't care anymore. They capitulated, right? And here's a great example. So, they were in the permitting and feasibility study stage. Big story became less exciting, and dilution became a big problem for Talon in 2023 and 2024. And Resource Capital is a big institutional shareholder, blew out 120 plus million shares of the stock in the open market, just blew it out, absolutely pounded this share price into the floor. And I think the stock dropped as low as 7 cents at one point, right? 7 cents times like 900 million shares is like a 60 million market cap for a high grade copper platinum deposit in Minnesota, right? It was pretty cheap, but that's what happens during the orphan stage of the mining life cycle sometimes. So March 25th, this was a haunted house. Nobody cared about, everybody gave up on it. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I recall because I was there and I saw the news release hit, and I was like, hold on, what is this? It's Thursday afternoon. Like, why are they putting out news on a Thursday afternoon? Well, it was a new discovery. 8.25 meters of massive sulfides, 95% total sulfides in the core. I've seen the rock, I've held it. It's pure metal. And there it is. So that's the hole that started it. There was an area of the resource that they were doing some more testing of, and they found a new anomaly at depth right under this. They drilled deeper, 700 or so meters, and this is what they hit, right? And if you know the model of these deposits, these conduit hosted massive sulfide deposits, sometimes this happens. You get like you get a keel, a waterfall, and then the massive sulfides pool at a certain level. And so as soon as I saw the news release and I looked at the map, I saw where the hole was drilled, I said, this is a game changer. This is different. This is new, and this is exciting. This could move the needle. But it was just the first hole. So as excited as I was, I still had a little bit of skepticism, right? But what's really interesting about Talon is you can see the stock went up. It went from like 8 to 12, 50% jump. No big deal, really. But then April rolled around and the president of the US did some tariff stuff and crashed the markets for a couple of weeks. And Talon traded back below where it was the day they put out the new discovery hole. It traded down after they told you they had a new discovery of 95% total sulfides in an undrilled area. That's how crazy the sector can be, and the fat pitches that can be handed out if you're just paying attention. And then they drilled another hole. Now it's not 8 meters, it's 35 meters of massive sulfides. It's getting better. And look at what happened. It's 42 cents now, but they got 1 billion shares out, so it's not exactly a low market cap, right? So here's Owale. This was the management overhaul. So the previous CEO didn't file the financials, right? So definitely a haunted house. When you don't file your financials on time, it's a haunted house. Low on cash. So we change the CEO, we get some new board members in, we get some new capital, and they're drilling. So that happened in May 2023. They did the corporate overhaul. June, they're back out there with the drill rigs funded by Newmont, who's their partner on this project, the biggest gold company in the world. And then August, they start to put out assays. 12 meters of 4.9 grams per ton gold. That's not a bad intercept. That's pretty good, actually. For an $8 million market cap company, I would say that matters, right? Market didn't really care. The market didn't care. This was 2023. Market didn't care. So Newmont participated in a financing a few months later, and they increased their stake to 15.5%. So suddenly, you're starting to get some joy with the drills, and the biggest gold mining company in the world is increasing its position in the company. And then 2024, magic happens. They make 2 discoveries, BBM and Charger, including 32 meters of 46 grams per ton at Charger, and the stock is at 10x, just absolutely parabolic, right? But the market gave you 6 months to buy this stock at a $10 million valuation for those who were paying attention. Not many were paying attention because they still saw this company as a haunted house. They were slow to appreciate the changes with the management team and the strategy of the company. Here's the Sweden thing. So the government decides to open up mining, and this company has a huge property package that suddenly becomes worth a lot more. And you can see that. Here's the TDG Gold with the next door results from AMark. So this was in January. This was announced at this conference in January. And there's TDG Gold. So what's cool about this is I didn't realize the day of the announcement that these guys were next door. So I was slow to pick up on it. But then I did realize, as did a lot of other people, and you can see that it gapped up, but it only gapped up like 20%, which is actually not that big of a move. When you consider that literally 100 meters away, you've got a big new discovery, right? But you can see that it kept grinding higher. So it goes from 14 cents to like 60 cents. Then it consolidates for a large period of time. Then they're able to finance and drill their own holes, and now they're hitting. And they're hitting big during a bull market. So now we're from 14 cents to $1.76. So that's the virtuous cycle that can happen in the sector. And there it is. And here's Highlander. So the billionaires come aboard. So you could have bought this stock under $1 when this news came out that Warwick is the biggest shareholder. The Lundin family takes 20%. And these are the kind of people, Sprott and Warwick, that make an asset more valuable by simply attaching their name to it, right? That's another way to unlock value in the sector, but it's not easy because they don't invest in everything, right? They're pretty choosy. And this is an example of a great share structure, board and management, big holding 40%, and retail only has 15% of this. So the free trading float is super tight, and you got a 4x. So what do we want to look for? Torque, share structure, tighter share structure, the more torque in the share price. We want to see those big investors like Sprott and Warwick. And then the news, so the event, how much does it matter? And can it get better? With Talon, when they drilled 8 meters of massive sulfides, that's pretty good. But then when they drill 35, oh, it's getting better. It's getting a lot better, right? And those are the kind of trends that we want to see. And when it's misunderstood, so the more impactful the news is, like with Talon, and it's not well understood because everybody still viewed this as a haunted house, and they were still focused on the share structure. You have no idea how many people asked me, I can't buy the stock. It's 900 million shares. I said, I don't care. It's 900 million shares. That's 100 million market cap, and they just made a new discovery, right? Let's skip that slide. Share structure, share rollback. So there's a company here that recently had a share rollback on my panel, and we'll talk about that. So the torque is set up, right? So when they start to drill, the stock can really move. And then simply ending with the 3 C's, it's actually very simple to evaluate a management team, a CEO. Are they able to raise capital? What's their track record on raising capital? Their commitment, their level of focus on the company? How bad do they want it, right? And these are all things you can tell by talking to a CEO. And then their competence, experience, track record, intelligence. Again, stuff that you can tell from talking to them.